Hello humans and extraterrestrials, so this is my February reading wrap-up video. I read 6 books this month, or last month I guess when you're seeing this. I have also attempted to start reading some and kind of, decided they're not for now, and I've also DNF'd some. So we're going to talk about all of that. I've decided that I want to talk about the books I've DNF'd as well as the books, I want to talk about the books I've DNF'd for good as well as the books I've DNF'd for now, because there's sometimes you'll read a book and you'll go, this is good, but I'm not in the mood for a fantasy or whatever it is. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. I have read 4 physical books and listened to 2 audiobooks, and I'm just going to sort of talk about them as we go through and we'll see. So yeah, the first book I read in February is Carrie Hope Fletcher's All That She Can See. I gave it 3.5 stars. I genuinely really enjoyed it. I'm really bad at ranking in terms of stars. I don't know why, I just tend to struggle with it. I kind of just go with my gut, because I did genuinely really enjoy this book. I got through it quite quickly, but it wasn't like a masterpiece, it was sweet and there was a lovely romance. But anyway, okay, this All That She Can See by Carrie Hope Fletcher is a book about a girl named Cherry, or a woman named Cherry, who can see physical embodiments of people's negative feelings. So there's a person who is lonely and she can see her loneliness perched on her shoulder, sort of thing, as like a medlem is what she calls them. And this leads to her deciding, oh, I need to make a difference. So she bakes these emotions and she sort of tries to fix these emotions by baking contractive ones into her confectionery and selling them. And it's such an interesting concept, and it was I think it was executed quite well. Other people have said that they think it could have been executed better, but I genuinely just really enjoy Carrie's writing style. I think it's really unique, and I think that, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars, which some people would say is a low rating. I say is an okay rating. A 3-star book is one of those books that you've read a million of them. I think 3.5 is it's an interest. I tend to give to a more interesting concept or something that is a little bit extra. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it, but it didn't evoke crazy emotion into me. It was just a cool sort of sci-fi magic-y novel that I enjoyed. I say sci-fi, it's sort of just magical because it's not really about science. But yeah, I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys Carrie Hope Fletcher's writing, or I don't know, I just enjoyed it. I think it was a good read, worth my time, and I thought it was a romance. It became a romance, and I thought it felt a little rushed, but I did still think it was nice. So yeah, there we go. Would recommend. Okay. The next book I read was a reread, so we're not going to talk too heavily on it because I talked about it in my Books of 2019 read, which is my very battered copy of The Great Gatsby. This is, if you're unaware, is an American classic about this guy Nick who meets the Great Gatsby, James Gatsby, and sort of, I don't know, he's sort of retelling the parts of his life that he's aware of. I think I gave this 2.5 stars last time, and I think God, it's so ruined, and I think I'm keeping it at that. I read this again as it is part of my English course at school, so I'm trying to make sure, keep quotes and concepts stuck in my head. So I'm not going to talk about it too heavily, but I didn't think much differently of it. I did find it sort of enjoyable. It didn't take me very long to get through again. I don't know, it's not my thing. I'm not a fan. I don't really find the concept as interesting as some people do. But if you enjoy it, good for you. You enjoyed something far more than I did. The next one I have is The Northern Lights by Philip Pullman, which is part of his Dark Materials trilogy. I really enjoyed this book. I gave this book 5 stars. If you're unaware, this is a story about a girl called Lyra who lives in an alternative version of the world in which people have demons, which are like their souls but projected out into a physical embodiment of some sort of animal creature thing. And this is basically the story of her. Well, basically she's trying to find trying to find her uncle. Find her uncle throughout this. That sounds incredibly uninteresting, I'm well aware, but it's such a brilliantly written fantasy novel, and I've only just gotten around to reading it because I got gifted these for Christmas, if you watched my Christmas haul. But yeah, this is a brilliant book. I really enjoyed it. I thought her badass character was phenomenal. I thought that, I don't know, I really enjoyed it, and there's a few points where I was like, no. Like, it's one of those books that it has lots of little twists and turns, and you sort of just go, hey Pullman, why? But in a good way, you know? In a good way. You're like, thanks, that's my soul shredded into pieces, but everything's fine, you know? Like, it was a good read, and I genuinely really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. And yeah, that's that. I don't know what else I have to say on it, really. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm gonna get around to the other ones eventually. Okay, our first of 2 audiobooks. I will have a picture of it here, but it is David Mitchell's Dishonesty is the Second Best Policy. This is basically a book of all his, I think, Observer articles. Observer? Right? I think. Whatever newspaper he writes articles for. It's basically a big compilation of those. He already had one, which was called Thinking About It Only Makes It Worse, which I have not read. I only got this because it was new and I'd seen it on his Twitter, and I thought it would be interesting because I'd never really read any of his articles. I only really know David Mitchell from panel shows and like occasionally watching Peep Show when I was younger. Like, it was never like just watching him on Would I Lie to You and QI, basically, is what I know of him, and his wonderful wife Victoria, who's brilliant. But I really enjoyed it. I really think he's I think he's genuinely one of the funniest English comedians, and that is saying something for me because I am a fan of quite a few of them. But I genuinely, yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's phenomenally funny. And I gave that 4 stars because I think his writing's really funny too. So yeah, the last physical book I read in the month of February is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I am a bit late to this book because it came out in 2018, right? 2018? God. Yeah? I think. Yeah, 2018. I'm a bit late to the party, but I got given it for Christmas, and it also means I don't have to wait 2 years for a sequel because it comes out in June or July. And I've already pre-ordered my signed copy, if that gives you any sort of indication of what I felt about this book. So this book, which I gave 5 stars, is about a girl, well, it's not entirely, it's about a woman called April May who stumbles upon this sort of, I guess, like mechanical robot-y thing that you can see on the cover in New York. It just appears on a New York street one day, and she and her friend film a video about it and post it on YouTube, and it just sort of goes hugely viral. And then it's sort of about both the development of finding out what the heck these things are, and also sort of fame and how it affects relationships, and it's just so interesting, and I really liked Hank Green's voice in this. I was a bit concerned about, not concerned, because I like John Green's writing. I'm a fan of John Green. I read all his books, I'm sorry John, but I'm a fan of his writing and the few books I've read. And I love Hank Green. I love Vlogbrothers. I've loved Vlogbrothers, which is their joint YouTube channel, for years. Also, I apologise, I'm a bit sick, but this was phenomenal. This exceeded any expectations I had, because it was beautifully written, and this was a book where there were so many points where I was just like, what? what in the actual living daylights just happened, Hank Green? Why did you decide to do this? And then it sort of resolved it, well, not resolved itself, but you know, there was a lot of twists and turns in this one. This is a sci-fi novel, if you couldn't tell. I feel like that's kind of a spoiler, but at this point, it's been out 2 years. I don't really care. I love it so much. I really enjoy this book, and again, I'm awaiting the sequel, which will come out and which will arrive to my house when I am in Borneo, if I'm still going. So that's, yeah, it was phenomenal and I really enjoyed it. I just thought the voice, her voice was really interesting, and I think you could tell that he talked to people about getting the voices that weren't his right. Like the main character's bisexual, and there are female-female relationships in this, and I think you can tell that he's talked to people about their experiences with this stuff. Like he hasn't just decided, oh, that's that. Like he's actually talked. You can tell he's done his research, I guess, and I really appreciate that. And that is very Hank Green, because he seems like the sort of person that would over-research everything. But yeah, 5 stars, would recommend. And the last book that I read this year, again I'll have it up here, is Joe Lycett's Parsnips Buttered. This was a 4-star read for me, I think. Did I rate it? Yeah, 4-star read for me. I think Joe Lycett is phenomenally funny as well. He's also one of those English comedians that's on all the panel shows and just jumps around them that I think is phenomenally funny. And I just thought his email and tales really amused me. And that's about all I have to say on it, really. I don't know, it's not very complicated a book to explain. It's just very funny. Because I was listening to the audiobook, I got to hear his very funny tone saying all of these things. Same with David Mitchell, actually. I should have pointed that out. I also found him more funny because it was his voice. But yeah, that's all the books I read. So we're going to talk about now the books that I didn't. Okay, so today I have 3 books for you that I completely just gave up on entirely, and I'm never going to touch again, and probably I'll sell on something or give them to school or something. But so I have 2 that I'm going to put together because I read them within about 5 minutes of each other. I attempted, and I say attempted I mean failed, to do the 24-hour reading challenge during my holidays. It lasted about 6 hours because, not because I am pathetic, however I am, but because I started at a weird time, because most people started at like 8 in the morning and went to the next day. I was going to start in the night because then I thought that as opposed to ruining 2 days, I would only really ruin 1, which makes sense, but also I was just too tired. It just didn't happen that way. I was too tired. I started at like 8 p.m. and then I was just like got to 1 or 2 and I was just like, no. But anyway, 2 of the ones that I started reading I was like, nope, this is garbage. Or I thought so anyway. Again, if you like them, that's fair. It's Crossbones Yard by Katie Rhodes. Excuse me. And Before I Let You In by Jenny Blackhurst. These are both thrillers. I am not a fan of thrillers in general, however, I'm 90% sure I just picked these up a few years ago in the works and was just like, yeah, you'll do. Because it's one of those things where I'd often go into a shop and I'd just be like, oh, you get 3 for the price of, you get 3 books for a £5, and then I'd pick a few up. Which is a waste of money because all of them end up getting sold apart from like 3. So yeah. But yeah, this one's about like a therapist. I literally started reading like the first bit. Like I literally read like the first 2 pages and I was just like the first chapter. And I was like, no, this isn't my thing. I don't like the format. It's just not interesting to me. I'm sure many people find it interesting and find her interesting because she wrote How I Lost You, which is the #1 bestseller. But it's not my thing. Another one, also not my thing, is Crossbones Yard. It's about I mean, it's about, like, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's about a woman who finds a murderer, but there was a certain phrase, what was it? I could see why he had to pay for sex. It's not the sort of phrase I want to read. Is this just an adult novel thing where they mention stuff like this and it's normal? Because, like, using that sort of phrase and, like, making fun of people and being judgy, because you don't tend to get it in YA as much. I didn't like it so far at all, so I just gave up. Generally, I read the first few chapters, and if I hate it, I hate it. And this one was a miscommunication with me, which is Little House on the Prairie, which I thought I had read the first book. What's it called? Little House in the Big Woods. I thought I had read it, but I clearly hadn't, based on the fact that when I started it, I had no idea what the heck was going on. And I only owned this one because I had the whole series, and I'm pretty sure they got lost in moving. So, bit effed myself up with that one, so we're not touching that again. I also don't really care about the Little House series, to be honest with you. I'd only really heard of it offhand. I didn't know much about it. It's not something I have huge interest in, so yeah, it's not a huge loss. And okay, 2 books I started reading and thought, nah. So this one might be controversial to some. This is Philip Pullman's The Subtle Knife. Not because I didn't like it, because I did read about 130 pages into it. 138 pages into it, and I was just, no. Not because I don't enjoy it, because I genuinely was really enjoying it and I like the characters, but I do not have the brain space for a relatively high fantasy novel right now. And about keeping up with all the characters, because there's like 3 perspectives in this book, and that is too much for my tired, exam-stressed brain to handle right now. So I will go back to it, and I will finish it when I am more capable. I'll probably bring it with me to Borneo or something. But for now, we're leaving it, which is unfortunate, because I really enjoyed the first one, and I do really enjoy this, and I like Will's character, but I'm gonna have to go about it. And also, if anyone is unaware, this is the sequel to Northern Lights, so it's the second book in the His Dark Materials trilogy. If you couldn't tell by the matching lovely cover that what's his name? Chris Ramel, I think, right? Too many quote pages, I can't tell. Chris Ramel, yeah, he did a fabulous job with these. And the second one is The Silver Star by Jeanette Walls. I really started reading this book. This book is about 2 girls whose mother is a bit estranged and crazy, shall we say. And she leaves them and they have to run away to their, I think, uncle. Yeah, uncle, who lives in a mansion that's been in their family for generations, apparently. And when I read a bit into it. I read the first like 10 chapters or something. They're not very long, so it was only about 50-60 pages out of the like 300 there are. But I was really enjoying it, but again, it's not quite, doesn't feel right now, you know, so I will go back to it when it does. But now I have an idea of what this book's like, I will know when to pick it up as well, I guess. So yeah, those are all the books that I have read and not read this month. I also bought 2 books this month, which adds to my physical TBR. I'm basically stealing this idea from Reading by My Shelf, but it's kind of like a balancing my books is what she calls it, but I'm just going to keep it like my generally speaking reading wrap up and just call it that because I don't want to steal her title too. And if I think of something funny then I'll use it. But yeah, I have bought 2 books, which brings my TBR up to 39, when at the start of the month it was at 45, so progress. But the 2 books I bought, I actually bought today because I was away with my family shopping in an Asda and I saw them and went, I really want to read those. Because I've seen them on BookTube and they're in my non-physical TBR on my Goodreads account already. So here I have 2. I have 2 very different books actually. So this is The Librarian of Auschwitz, which is based on the true story of Dita Kraus, I think. Dita Kraus, I think is her name. But basically it's a woman, it's based on the story of a 14-year-old called Dita, who is, yeah, real person, who is an imprisoner at a Nazi Auschwitz-Birkenau, which is one of the concentration camps, I'm assuming. But she basically becomes a librarian and makes, and you know, has control over the books, and it's talks about her life basically. And I'm so interested. I don't tend to read a lot of historical fiction or based on stories really, but this caught my eye. I also need to read The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I've not read it yet, I'm sorry, I know, but the love story didn't really appeal to me as much as something like this does, so that. And the other one, which if you've been on BookTube in the last year, I'd imagine you've heard about, which is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, which is about two people who basically have an arrangement where they move into a flat together. However, the characters are Tiffy and Leon. Tiffy works day shift, I think Leon works night shift. So they never see each other, and they sleep in the same bed, but they never see each other because of the day and night shift thing. And it's really interesting to me, and also I've just heard a million good things about this book from favourite authors, from other BookTube people, and it really seems like my thing. But yeah, that's my books lowered actually. But yeah, I'm down to 39 on my TBR, which was at about, what, 40 something? It was at like 46 or something at the start of the year, so we're going down. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, know what to do. Please remember to drink your water, eat your vegetables, and peace out, I guess.